Hi, my name is Timothée Schmude and I'm a PhD student at the University of Vienna. Today I'm going to present to you our paper on the impact of explanations on understanding of algorithmic decision-making. And you might be wondering what this has to do with these three strange-looking kangaroos at the bottom. Well, these kangaroos were drawn by a monk in the 12th century, called Brother Giorgio. Giorgio had the task to draw the geography and animals of Australia, but he had never been to Australia himself, and therefore he had to rely on second-hand descriptions. These drawings that you can see here show how Giorgio's understanding of how a kangaroo should look like developed with the accounts he was given. The first description that Giorgio heard of a kangaroo was a large rat-like creature with a pouch and with an exceptionally thick tail, which led to the first drawing that you can see on the left. After some time, a traveler who had actually been to Australia corrected Giorgio's first drawing by saying the pouch is part of its belly, it stands upright, on real legs much bigger and thicker than the front legs, which resulted in the second drawing. And finally, for the third drawing, the traveler once again corrected Giorgio's mental representation of the kangaroo by saying, the tail doesn't stick straight out, it rests on the ground. And with this, Brother Giorgio could finally create a drawing that actually resembled a kangaroo. This story is told by Harold Cohen in his 1988 essay, How to Draw Three People in a Botanical Garden. In this essay, Cohen describes the process of how his creative AI system Aaron learns to draw different topics and concepts. Cohen felt that this knowledge-building process of his own AI system had some similarities to Brother Giorgio's step-by-step understanding of kangaroos. This leads Cohen to state that correctness and completeness of knowledge are not enough to build a plausible mental model or an understanding of something, but that each understanding process requires a whole spectrum of world knowledge, which is combined with knowledge of the representation used to embed it. Now, how is this relevant to explainable AI or algorithmic decision-making? Well, we can say that explanations are meant to produce understanding in their target audience. But we can also see that understanding is an individual process that unfolds in very different ways. Therefore, future explanations of algorithmic systems should support this individual process and consider the learner's context, meaning, for example, their domain and technical knowledge, as well as their personal connection to the system. In our paper, we focus on two questions. First, how is understanding impacted through explanations? And second, does understanding enable stakeholders to better assess algorithmic systems, for example, in terms of ethical values? Our working definition of understanding is taken from Wiggins and McTighe's 2005 book Understanding by Design, which is based on the taxonomy of educational objectives by Benjamin Bloom. Here the authors state that understanding is transferability of knowledge, to take what we know and use it flexibly in different settings. And they extend this definition by the so-called 6 facets of understanding, which describe what somebody is able to do when they truly understand a topic. According to this framework, when somebody rationally understands a topic, they are able to explain it, apply it, and take a critical perspective on it. And on the other hand, when somebody emotionally and personally understands a topic, they are able to interpret it, empathize with aspects of it, and reflect on their own opinions and knowledge of the topic. But why and for whom is it actually relevant to understand explanations of AI? First, on the for whom. Since so-called high-risk algorithmic decision-making systems are used more and more often in public institutions, a large number of people can be affected when these systems do not work as planned. Stakeholders that are involved with such a system, such as deployers or users, should therefore be able to understand the workings and limitations of these systems. And now to the why. This understanding should enable stakeholders to decide whether a decision by the algorithm is fair or not, and whether they should request human intervention, for example. In our paper, we describe in detail how we conducted an empirical study to examine the impact of explanations on understanding. Here is a brief overview. We first built explanations for an employability prediction algorithm. We then conducted 30 one-on-one interviews where we presented these explanations to participants. We analyzed the transcripts of the interviews both inductively and deductively, and in our paper we report the findings on understanding and its implication on the ethical assessment of algorithms. We chose this algorithm as a use case because it was well documented and it had a political dimension. Because the algorithm was known to be biased against some population groups, there was a lot of critical discussion when it was first piloted. We used 3 explanation modalities to show how this algorithm would be used in the Public Employment Office: a textual modality, a dialogue, and an interactive one. These modalities are described in detail in the full paper. For the study itself, we presented each modality to 10 participants, who then completed 2 task sections and finally gave a brief interview. We analyzed the interview transcripts on the topics of understanding and fairness perception 2 times. First, inductively to see which themes would emerge organically from the transcripts, and then deductively to see whether existing frameworks could be mapped to the data. Here we used the 6 facets framework for themes on understanding and Stark's classification for themes on fairness perceptions. For our findings, we come back to the questions that we raised in the beginning. First, how is understanding impacted through explanations? Our findings show that our explanation addressed all facets of understanding, but that some emerged more frequently than others. For example, while most participants showed rational understanding of the algorithm, emotional or personal understanding was rather shown by specific participants. In particular, participants who were job seekers at the time of the study related to the presented information much more personally, often expressing a range of emotions. Therefore, we can say that the individual context affected strongly how participants related to the explanation. And second, does understanding enable stakeholders to better assess algorithmic systems? In our findings, participants who showed more understanding of the algorithm were indeed able to articulate more detailed fairness assessments. But, on the other hand, we also noticed that for many participants it was not straightforward to apply concepts such as fairness to an algorithmic context. This could mean that future studies should also provide an explanation of what it means to call an algorithmic decision fair or unfair, for example. To conclude, we formulated the main points of our talk as take-home messages. First, frameworks such as the 6 facets of understanding and, of course, other theories from the learning sciences can help to inform explanation design by structuring understanding as a step-by-step mental process. Considering the diversity of these mental processes could be valuable for future explanations. Second, participants reacted very positively to the dialogue modality, a form of explanation that created a conversation between the explainer and the participant. Seeing that dialogue modalities have not been often discussed, we highlight this modality as a valid alternative to increase understanding through questions and conversation. And third, explanations should consider how stakeholders gain agency by understanding a given system. This could mean that they assess a system in terms of ethical values, or that they can decide whether to contest an algorithmic decision. The complexity of conveying this form of agency, however, should not be underestimated. I would like to thank you very much for your attention. If you have further questions or comments, please do contact us under the given mail address. Thank you.